All right, and we're live. Hi, Club Amore. Welcome back to another video. This is our Worthy Women Winning series. My name is Dejanay, also known as the Worthy Mother, helping you birth your self-worth and redefine your perception of relationships. I am a mother, an author, and I am a new grad student getting my master's in marriage and family therapy. But my journey did not always start here. It was rooted in heartbreak and turmoil. After I found out about my ex-husband's infidelity, I started to embrace my self-worth. And through my journey of healing, I came up with this series. And I wanted to just showcase women who were thriving after divorce so that the women who are still struggling and separation and divorce can see that there's joy and freedom on the other side of their pain. So if you are a woman who is separated or divorced, I have a 10-week workbook that will help guide you through that tough transition in the description box. And yeah, so I also have my daughter disclaimer in the background. So if you hear her, see her, then we'll just keep the ball rolling. So yeah, without further ado, we have here Takila.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to see you. If you would go ahead and just introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I am Takila Shamir. Shamir is actually my middle name, and I did a quiz the other day, and it's actually I was named after a perfume. That's how that came about. But I am a wife. I am a mother. I'm a disciple of Christ, and my passion really is as a bride and wife coach to really help women navigate their season of becoming a wife and really helping them to prepare and position themselves as wives before they actually say I do. And honestly, my journey of marriage to begin with, my first marriage, being married now, that really led me to find my passion in being able to coach brides. So thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Nice. That is awesome. And I love that. That's one of my I have a passion for that too. So that's why I like chose the path of marriage and family therapy versus any other type of therapy. It's just because of like the preparation, and then then the health of marriages, and then even like getting into the trauma and just correcting all of that for the health of marriages. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I would say one of the things in my discovery, my husband and I, we went through premarital counseling. I actually went through premarital counseling in my first marriage as well. And I think premarital counseling, everyone should do premarital counseling. It's a great way for you to really connect with your partner and really talk about some of the things that we don't often decide to bring up over dinner. And really discover how you're going to, prepare together going into marriage. However, I do feel like it's really important for us as women to have coaching ourselves to become wives. When you're doing that together, you're navigating the season together to prepare for your marriage, but there's no one that says, hey, like, how do I navigate becoming a wife? I'm going from a single woman engaged for a little while, and now I'm going to be someone's wife. And how do I navigate that and do it in the best way, in a way that honors God?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. I think that's a huge piece of it. That's a huge piece that you're right. Nobody talks about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you get so excited about the wedding and the flowers and all that stuff. And listen, I plan some weddings on the side as well. And it's a beautiful time. It's a great time that you're joining your life with this person that you're committing to. But a part of that has to be, how do I prepare? Because the wedding, the day is 24 hours, unless you have, I don't know, an extended wedding. It's somewhere within those 24 hours.
Yeah.
After that, it's like, this is the start of the rest of our lives. And if I'm going to spend my money, if I'm going to spend my time anywhere before I get married and I'm, preparing for our wedding and our lives together, it's going to be like, how do I become the very best version of a wife that I can be? And what does God intend for me, in terms of being a wife? Not the world, because the world will deceive you.
Sure will.
I will deceive you and tell you that being a wife is something totally different. But it's like, what does God say? How do I honor myself? How do I honor my husband? And how do I honor God mostly as I navigate, into being a wife, in a marriage?
Yeah, definitely. That is awesome. So oh gosh, she want water. Okay, one
Take your
second.
time, girl. Take your time. I'm just going to say hello. I can't see anyone here, but I'm saying hello to everyone who is joining us. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And I'm super excited to be here. And listen, kids are going to be kids.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I give the disclaimer at the beginning.
Listen, tell her we needed water too.
Yeah. Okay, so first question. What kind of family dynamic did you grow up in? Was it like a two-parent household? Was it healthy, toxic, single parent? Tell us about that.
Yes. So I have the most beautiful family. And I'm so blessed. My parents have been together for 40, going on 42 years. My parents have been together, and it's such a blessing. My parents had me really young. And so we've always been together. I am the oldest of three. I have a brother who's two years younger than me, and my sister, she is actually 10 years younger than me. And we had, I guess, what people would consider a normal family, a normal family lifestyle. We actually, I'm from Georgia, grew up in the country. I am so country. Like people, so funny. I often get asked if I'm from California, which I think is really weird. But I'm from Georgia. My whole entire family lived on the same road. They still live like that. My grandparents live next door, my aunt and uncle, down the road. And so we really grew up in this, family dynamic. And I grew up in a really healthy environment. My parents, they both worked. They both did everything they could for us to be successful, for us to understand what, loving one another is like. And, eventually choosing your partner who you're going to be with, for life. And there's ups and there's downs. There's good times and there's bad times. And my parents, they have, continued just to love one another and just to build on their relationship. And it's a beautiful thing. And when you're younger, you don't really understand that. You don't understand, like, hey, I live in a healthy household.
Yeah.
You just think, we get caught up in all these television shows, and you think about like the Cosby Show, and I'm 42, so that was what we saw, in terms of growing up with African American families on television. And you think, okay, well, that's great, this is how my life should be. And you take for granted, like, that you do, have your mom and dad there, that you go to church on Sundays and you go to ball games and all of that stuff. So it really was what I would say as a normal, childhood growing up. My family, we were actually all just together a few weeks ago celebrating my birthday, my mom's birthday, and my niece's birthday.
Oh, wow.
I know, at my brother's home. And so our bond is very similar, just like when we were growing up. And my family has created and kept that dynamic from the time that we were kids. And so it really is, it's a blessing.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So how do you think that environment, the healthy environment, having a two-parent household and that closeness, how do you think that like transferred over into your relationships when you started to date and when you actually met your husband your first husband and got into that marriage?
Yeah, definitely. I think it certainly had a huge effect on that relationship and really trying to navigate it. I was the first person in my family to go off to college. So there was not a lot of people to say, hey, this is what to expect and all of these things. So you're now in this environment that really isn't controlled. Like my family was strict. My mom, I'm sure she's actually watching this. My family was very strict. My parents had me really young, 18 years old. And they were like very passionate about us, like being successful, going to college and, being able to have things that maybe they didn't have, and
Yeah.
really assert ourselves. And so going to college, you're in this environment where there's all these new people and all of this stuff. And actually, when I met my ex-husband, the thing that attracted me to him was because he reminded me of my home. I went to the University of Georgia. I was literally like taking like, you know what I mean? Like a little goldfish, and like putting the little goldfish like in this huge
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
And so that, was the thing that really attracted me to him initially, and even my friends. And it's like, at the time I thought about it, it's like, one of my best friends, she's like from a small town. Our background is very similar. And so that's what really attracted me to him, that it reminded me of home. He reminded me of, my father. It wasn't this like city guy, he was very country, very laid back. And so that really was the initial attraction. And then trying to build. I would say that because my family was younger, understanding, okay, how do I navigate this as it got serious? I had a high school boyfriend, but that's different.
Yeah,
Now
definitely.
in college, I have my own place and all of this stuff. I'm going to be here for 4 years. How do I navigate this relationship and help it be healthy? And I think I would say for me, although I grew up in a healthy environment with my parents, navigating a relationship in college where you're going to school every day. I worked full time, and it's almost like you're playing house, if you will, because it's like I'm just trying to copy what I see versus really saying like, okay, God, is this really what you want from me? And like, is this the guy? And all of those things. And I've learned so much just from entering into that relationship, but that was the initial attraction. And like I said, it reminded me of home. It reminded me of like what I saw, and he was from Georgia too. So that was like, all those things that really, at the end of the day, he is, he was a nice guy. He still is a nice guy, but you do get caught up. It's like, he's from Georgia. He reminds me from home. Okay, it'll work.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of what led, to that relationship for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, going into the relationship of your first marriage, how were the dynamics in the marriage and what actually led to the divorce?
Yeah. So the first thing is that we started dating really young. 20 years old, we started dating. I told somebody today, I was like, girl, he got all my 20s.
Yeah.
I was like, he got all my 20s, girl, and part of my 30s, And so, going into it, I obviously have a very type A personality. I'm very independent. I work full time as a full time college student. I have my own money. I have my own car, all of those things. And, he had his stuff too. And, we lived together. We navigated our relationship, and we were like splitting everything. That's how it starts, right? And it's funny because we think, oh, it's in a relationship. This is what we should do. We're going to split everything. This is your stuff. This is my stuff. I'm contributing. And I would say over time, we dated for a long time. So ladies who are out there who are listening, there is a cutoff that you should have, that you should evaluate. And I was young, and you're like, okay, is this going to be a marriage? But it wasn't something that I was really, I guess, pressing, you could say. It wasn't even something that I was like, oh, am I going to get married? Or, hey, are you going to propose? It wasn't that dynamic at all. But I think in terms of our personalities and moving, us moving forward, we were trying to transition this relationship from being in college to, we moved several places. And actually, I'm in North Carolina now, and I'm in North Carolina now because he got a job here.
Okay.
And so, there's all of these different dynamics that kind of take place. And what happens is that you're just moving, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is the next step. This is the next step. And I would say, we both believed in God. We both had a relationship with God, but they were individual relationships with God. So you're navigating these 10 years together dating. And it's like, well, the next step, is marriage. And we got married, and that dynamic didn't change, right? So you're splitting bills. You're splitting bills when you're dating. You're splitting bills now, when you're married. And what happens is, it's very difficult to transition, like we're dating to now we're married. And now how do we create boundaries within our marriage that we didn't have when we were dating, but it's the same environment, right? And I would say God has to be the center of that. Because if you're making decisions based on this is what I saw on TV, this is what my parents did,
Yeah.
whoever said,
Yeah.
then that leads to a lot of discord. And I would say, at the point where, you know, we had my daughter, Emma Grace, who is like the light of my life. To be honest with you, we weren't in a great place at all. But you think, okay, you know, this is naturally the next step and everything will be fine. However, if you're paying bills separately, if you are navigating in life in a marriage really separately, bringing a child into that environment, it only makes it worse. Because now you're like, okay, well, we're splitting everything. So we should be splitting the feedings. We should be
Yeah.
diapers. I've been up for like 8 hours. Can you be up for 8 hours? So, you know, that's what happened. So now it's this like tit for tat and it's like this. And ultimately that is what led to my divorce, is that you know, the environment, it did become toxic. It did become an environment where I was no longer thriving. I knew it was an environment that my daughter would not be able to thrive in. And walking away is never easy. I don't care what has happened in the relationship. It is never easy, but I knew not only was it best for me, it was best for him. And it was, most importantly, it was best for my daughter to be in an environment that was no longer toxic. So that literally is me telling you like 16 years. 16 years of stuff in what, like 5 minutes?
No, it's fine. Yeah, I definitely understand. Like, yes, like walking away is definitely so hard. Like so hard. And then even for me, like I didn't even, he was the one that walked away, but even like with being Christian and like seeking God and it being like well, this is my marriage and I know you can fix it and like you can do anything and all of these things, and so you hold on to it. And it's like, yeah, if it's not God, because it's like it's what he brings together, it's not what we bring together, and like pray that he keeps you together. It's like if it's not right, then it's not right. And so that's how it was for me. So it was hard for me to just let it go. But when I let it go, I for sure let it go, because at the end of the day, it was about me, my self-worth, and like you said, my daughter, like in her and how she is going to look at herself if she was to even stay in that environment. And trust me, that environment was not it.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, and you know, it's one of the things that my husband and I talk about is, you know, because I think especially there is a lot of shame, I think, that comes with a divorce, and especially in the church, right? It's like, now y'all don't shame everybody like for anything else, but divorce, it's like this constant thing that people, I'm like, I only got divorced one time. Like I didn't get divorced every single day.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that my husband, you know, often says is that, did God bring this relationship together in the first place? And that is what I was thinking of. It's like, no. We do have free choice. Absolutely, we do. However, did you pray? Did you ask God, hey, God, show me if this is the person that you desire for my life, for my calling, for my purpose, and for me to move forward? And, you know, God, again, he will turn it all to good for his glory. And I know for me, that is exactly what he did. But it's also taking a step back saying, God, like, I mean, I probably was like, you know, people have their list. And it's like, I mean, he checks like at least 10 of the boxes. Really?
Yeah.
This is the one. But the thing about our lives is that it's so much bigger. And I often feel like our lives do become defined in a way by our relationship, especially our marriage, you know, and our forever person. Our lives become defined by that. And so I think sometimes, instead of us really seeking God and really centering ourselves on that relationship with Christ first, and then saying, look, I'm coming to you whole, like, This is like the whole like ice cream in the cone. You're
Yeah.
just like the whipped cream and the cherry on top, you know?
Right. Exactly.
Instead of us doing that, it's like, okay, I'm just trying to like mix all of my stuff together with your stuff, and then maybe we
Mhm.
can just figure this out. But we haven't even like navigated and like talked to God and said, God, like, is this something that you honor? You know,
Yeah.
does our relationship honor you? And my marriage did not honor God. Like my
Yeah.
first marriage,
Mine
it
neither.
did not honor God at all.
Yeah.
And you don't see it when you're in it.
Yeah.
When you get out, you're like, oh,
It's
yeah.
so I look back like, and yeah, and I was writing a book in the middle of my like separation.
Oh, okay.
And so hopefully I'm trying to publish it this year. Like I'm trying to get it out.
We're going to publish it this year, guys.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes. I am going to publish it this year. But
yes.
yeah, I would go back and I reread it just to like edit and see what if I need to take stuff out, whatever the case is. And now I'm just looking like, geez, like this is ridiculous. Like this is terrible. It's like you kind of feel dumb for even like thinking that this was okay, but
Yes,
yeah,
yes. Is that, you know, and especially as a Christian woman, you know, there is grace, you
yeah,
know, and it's like grace, however, doesn't mean to allow yourself to be constantly disrespected or
yeah,
dishonored.
yeah,
And, you know, a marriage literally takes two people who are rowing in the same direction. Not
yeah,
one is rowing this way, one is rowing in the opposite direction and thinking like we're going to somehow end up at the same destination. Like if
yeah,
you're in a river at some point, like it's going off the cliff. I don't know if
yeah.
your side is going off the cliff, but somebody's
Exactly.
side is going off the cliff, you
Right.
know?
Mhm.
You know, and I think that's like one of the really important things, you know, to really understand is that it is about honor.
Yeah.
And as a woman, you know, especially as a Christian woman, you're like, okay, I need to stay in this. I need to fix it. I need to fight. But it's two
Mhm.
people have to decide like they're going to fight. And yes, you can be the person. And I say this about women, like we are nurturers, you know, we care, like the thing that we want more than anything is that attention and that love. And
Mhm.
so we can offer that over and over and over again. We forgive, we give grace, but there is a point where you have to say, you know, okay, are you in this to work on it or are you in it just to sit here and be stagnant? But
Yeah.
we can never get back our time.
Yeah.
Never, 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 never. And it's like I want to honor God and I want to serve God, but I can't do that with the expense of myself. And I definitely can't do it with the expense of my daughter.
Yeah.
And I wish my daughter was here. She, like I said, we were talking earlier, she's with her dad. But the blessing for me is that if you met my daughter, and I don't know what it looks like, but my daughter is so happy. She's
Okay.
good with water.
Yeah.
My daughter, she's so happy and
Mhm.
she's in a thriving environment. Her dad and I is just the glory of God. We get
Mhm.
along well. You know, we've navigated co-parenting. Listen, at the beginning, was it easy? No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But it is now taking outside of the divorce. And the thing for me that was kind of shocking, it was like, I now have to figure out how to do like in a divorce,
Mhm.
like what I should have did when I was married to this
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, in terms of just like the kindness and saying like, this is going to be about my daughter and how I act, how I show up, how I respond or react is going to affect her. And
Yeah.
so I have to be conscious of my choices and how I navigate, you know, this with her father, because at the end of the day, he is her father. And
Yeah.
it's like the Bible says, honor thy mother and thy father. And it's like, how can I teach my daughter to honor her father when I don't honor him and I'm not honoring myself or
Yeah.
God in how I'm responding?
Yeah. That's awesome. That
Yeah.
is awesome. Yeah. So even so with that, how did you heal from like the divorce? Because I mean, like, yeah, that was a long time. Even though you got married after the 10 years, right? Like you were with the same guy for the this entire time. So
Yes.
I know like walking away, like you said, it wasn't easy. So how were you able to heal from that whole experience?
Yeah, it was not easy at all. And I would say one of the things that a lot of people say about women when we are finished with a relationship. We were finished with the relationship not on the day that we left. We were finished with the relationship years, months, before. And so for me, that was the difficulty, because my heart wasn't in it. And I stayed until my daughter was 3 years old. And to be totally honest, like, that's what I was going to do. I was like, I'm going to stay until my daughter can talk, and I'm leaving. That's what I did. And I would say the thing is like, yeah, it's difficult. I'm like, I've been with this person, like the majority of not even the majority, I have been with this person my entire adult life, And I didn't know what to expect. And it's so funny. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. And before I left, it was, I think the Lemonade album had come out. The Lemonade album had come out, girl. And I was just like, I had the Lemonade album like blasted
on repeat.
It was on repeat. He was like, you can listen to Beyonce if you want to. You can listen to Beyonce if you want to. I will never forget. That's what he kept saying over and over again. And in my mind, I'm like, look, Beyonce is not the one pushing me out the door. Like, you didn't push me, and I'm already like out the door. But once you're actually there, it's a totally different experience. My mother, who is literally like an angel on earth, my mother actually moved here when we had our daughter. She and my dad were still together, and she moved here and stayed with us until my daughter went to school at 2. And then my mom moved back. And so when I got ready to leave, I was working. My mom came here, and I had rented a truck. And my mom, girl, she was, listen, if anybody needs like somebody to do something, it's my mom. My mom, she stayed at the house. We had packed my stuff up, and I worked. My mom had Emma Grace. She had the people pack the truck up. I had went and got me an apartment. And actually where I am now is where I moved like all those years ago. I went from being what I thought at the time is like, oh, this is my dream home. And I'll be honest, I was comfortable there. And I didn't want to leave the house. And to be totally honest with you, girl, I thought he was going to leave. You should go, right?
Right.
Child, and I'm going to take care of her. You should go. And he wouldn't leave. So I went and got, this 2-bedroom apartment that I'm in. And I have been here, ever since. And God literally broke me apart. Like, piece by piece by piece, he broke me apart. And this apartment literally became my refuge. It was my church. It was my prayer closet. It was like, God was like, I am like, you don't even know like what I'm going to do. And I had decided early on, because I am very strong, and I'm like, my focus is like my daughter. And I got here, and I'm like, I have to heal. And, I switched churches. I started going to church. I started doing devotionals. I mean, I was doing all of this stuff. I started serving at church, all of this stuff. And God literally like wrecked my soul in the best way, And I was in church, and actually it was a snowstorm, girl. I'm not even kidding you. It was a snowstorm. And normally when I go to church, there's like 1,800 people, like, in one service. There was maybe 100 people. And the sermon was called 4 Habits of a Healthy Heart. I have been sitting in church, girl, week after week after week after week after week. And God had told me, girl, you need to raise your hand and you need to rededicate your life. And I was like, God, I know you talking, but no. And we don't have one of the churches you have to walk forward or anything. It's just you raise your hand. But week after week after week, I didn't do it. And I went to church during that snowstorm, and I raised my hand, and I rededicated my life to Christ. And truthfully, months and months and months before that, I'd actually started dating my now husband. So this was over time. But before that, I was sitting in church, and God like started convicting me that I needed to see if I could reconcile my marriage when I first left. And I was like, I'm not even kidding you. And I was sitting in church, and I was just like, I don't want to be with him. I seriously was like, I don't want to be with him. I'm talking to God, like we're having this dialogue, like, I don't want to be with him. And literally God's like, if you want, like, if you want to like like build this relationship with me, you got to trust me. You have to have faith, and you have to be obedient to what I am calling and I'm telling you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And girl, this is probably one of the hardest phone calls I ever had. And I called him and we had this conversation, and I said, I really feel like, God like put it on my heart to see if there was anything left to salvage in our marriage, like if there was anything or a way for us to reconcile. Now I ain't even gonna lie, I was on the phone like this: God, please say no. That's what I was thinking. And he said, absolutely not. There is nothing for us to reconcile. And truthfully, and he and I, we get along very well right now. But truthfully, girl, he sent me, I don't know if I've ever said this publicly. He actually sent me a picture of Sanford and Son. And you know how it has like salvage yard or something like that? Mm-hmm. Yes. And he basically like sent that to me, and it was like a representation of our relationship and our marriage. Mm-hmm. Basically saying it was junk.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying. Like, okay, this is our marriage within this Sanford and Son picture. And the thing is like, I knew that I was like at another place, but God was like, are you going to be obedient?
Trust me? Yeah.
Do you trust me? Mm-hmm. And I had my answer, and I was able to navigate. And it literally, like, when I think about it, like, just over the years and everything that he has done in my life. Yeah. It is like, it's so overwhelming that it like brings me to tears. Yeah. Because you're just like, girl, who are you? Like, who was that girl that you were in that marriage? Like, who were you? Mm-hmm. And it was really God saying to me, like, I have called you to so much more, so much more, but you have to fully put your trust in me. You have to like navigate your life with me, not with your thoughts, not with your feelings, not with your past. And the thing that I will say, if there's anyone who is watching this now or watches this in the future, you have to let go. You have to like, and even if it's baby steps, like you have to make the choice that you want to heal. And I'm all about speaking in the positive. I say this all the time. People say, I want to win the lottery. Win the lottery is like $1. That's what you ask for, right? Yeah. And so the thing about it is like, you have to speak over your situation and what it is that you want and what it is that you desire. And you have to ask God if it is his will, if it's his will for your life. But holding resentment and negative feelings towards your ex, it does nothing. It literally does nothing for you. It breeds toxicity. And the thing is, in our minds, we think because we are mad at them or we're going to act a certain way towards them, that energy, like at the end of the day, the person that it affects the most is you. And you just fall deeper and deeper and deeper, like into this negative space. And it's like, God's like, girl, I was trying to use you like 5 years ago. Like I was going to call you to another job. I was going to put you in another position. I was going to connect you with different people, but you're not ready because you're stuck in this place that you were before. I've already forgiven you. I've already told you I'm here. I got you. Like I'm going to provide for you, but you're stuck worrying about what he did to you 10 years ago. And we can't even have a conversation, and you have to get beyond that place. And thankfully I am beyond that place. Every day is not perfect with my ex. However, it is at a place where, and I haven't posted these yet, but my husband, myself, my daughter, and my ex-husband took family photos about 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Amen.
Amen. There's a God. So there's this is like, oh girl, she is like delusional. I promise you I'm not. I am not delusional. And everybody was happy in these photos and no one was bribed. There was no anything. It was truly like, we love this child. We love God, and we will show up and we will do it for her.
Yeah. That is awesome. Yeah. That's what I had to do. I had to focus on my daughter, and it was just like, I have to do it because like, I know how I felt like growing up and going through the things that going through and seeing the things that I saw. And I'm like, Yeah, I have to heal and I have to do this for her. So yeah, and God has literally been the best thing I could have
Mhm.
ever like done.
Yeah.
Like and just like what you said, trusting, letting go, hearing like trying to hear his voice and being obedient. That's literally how I
Yes.
got out of that.
Amen. You
Yeah.
know, and the thing too, that really pressed upon me when you were saying that is that we forget that the people in our lives that they have their own stuff before us. You
Mhm.
know, like there are things that they needed to heal from that we're now carrying in the relationship.
Yeah.
And so we don't look at them as like you're human because you're in it and you're hurt. But
Yeah.
you know, I was saying this to my husband last week. We literally talk like best girlfriends, my husband and I. Like it's like he gets on with the day. I'm like, okay, call me so we can talk.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of these things where you have to separate the individual from the action. It's not about making excuses. It's not about saying that what you did was okay. But what happens is that we are responding not to the action, right? Like it's like you are this, you are that.
Mhm.
And it's like if God said you are every sin that I've ever committed in my entire life, like
Yeah.
that's a lot to carry. That's a
Yeah.
lot to carry. And what happens is we start making the action who they are. And
Yeah.
the action isn't who they are. They are just unhealed from things that have happened in their life, which is why when you're going through premarital counseling and you are a wife, that's why it's important to discuss all of this stuff before you get in a marriage with somebody. You like, oh, I didn't even know you weren't healed from that. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that about you. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like now, like I'm your wife, and I have to take on the fact that maybe you were in, a household where maybe your father wasn't loyal to your mother, or
Mhm.
there were certain things that you saw in other people that
Yeah.
you picked up and you carried. Maybe you were hurt in your past. This is how you navigated it. So now you never healed from that. And unfortunately, I have to be the carrier and
Yeah.
of all of those things. And so
Mhm.
I think that was one of the ways too that I healed, was that I had to separate his actions from who he was.
Yeah.
Because the thing is like we marry them, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Exactly.
Marry them because we're like, I know your true nature. I know who God created you to be. Like I see God in you, right?
Mhm.
That's why I chose you,
Yeah.
because your kindness, the way that you love me, the way that you hold my hand when we walk across the street, all of those things.
Yeah.
That's why I said yes. That's why I married you. And a lot of times people say yes, and you haven't been honest about all those things before. But at
Mhm.
the same time, even if it ends, you have to get to a place in order to heal, to say they are not what they did. Because honestly, I don't want God to say, Takila, you are this, you are that. And
Mhm.
that's not what he says about me. He
Yeah.
calls me his daughter,
Yeah.
he loves me, he forgives me, he sees past all of my sin. So who am I to not do that for somebody else?
Yeah.
Who am I to judge them? At the end of the day, the judgment is the Lord's. Now,
Mhm.
you can't sit around and dishonor me and disrespect me and think that I'm gonna keep being your fly girl.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I can still honor God by being able to move forward and not cast you as being your sin.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It's awesome. Um, so I guess we can go into how you met your now husband.
Ah,
So yeah, tell us how you guys met, and also with that, tell us the like green flags or things that you like non-negotiables or whatever that you were looking for in a guy this time versus the last time.
yeah. So my husband and I actually met at work. So
Mhm.
I am at the time, I was in pharmaceutical sales. And he is a doctor. And
Mhm.
I called on him at his office, and I waited, I want to say like 2 hours before
Wow.
he came, right? But funny enough, I had this lunch with him. And we sat and talked, and it was interesting because he was very like transparent. And he mentioned during the time that we talked, that he was divorced and all of these things. I was actually still married at the time. And years later, I left cardiology, actually went into pain medicine. If there's anybody out there that's thinking about getting into pain medicine, don't do it. When you say that, and moved out of that. And years later, we reconnected. So that's how we met. And I would say, yeah, there were a lot of non-negotiables for sure. First of all, I was like going to be like number one, God had to be at the center.
Yeah.
And he had to like heal. And to be totally honest with you, and he will tell you that I said this, like he had a lot of forgiving and forgiveness that he needed to do. He had a lot of things that he needed to heal in his life. And for me, it's one of these things where it's like I'm already carrying my own stuff. And right now in my life, I can't carry your stuff too.
Yeah.
And I think that he was married, and my divorce probably to most people is like, oh, if I was going to get divorced, that's how I would want my divorce to be.
Yeah.
My husband's divorce was the total opposite. Like it was almost like made for television type divorce. And that breeds a lot of like bitterness and like negativity. And so for us, it was really centering ourselves on God. And like we started going to church together, like as friends. He had, been in several relationships, after his marriage. He had been divorced for a while. And we started going to church together. And like that's how we like started building our relationship. Was this has to be centered on God. Celibacy was another thing that like I'm going to be celibate, like I'm going to do this the right way. And as God was like, breaking me apart and putting me back together, I think one of the things that we do is like, okay, God, like I'm going to serve you, I'm going to be obedient, but I just want to break the rules over here.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this over here.
Definitely.
And listen, celibacy, like right now, like people literally look at you like,
what?
Celibacy? Right. However, number one, I'm worth it. I'm worth the wait. That's number one. And number two, can not only you, but can we be obedient to God together?
Right.
And that was one of the things. And oddly enough, when I was with my ex-husband, we had been together for so long. We've been together for so long. So I didn't know how to date. I didn't know how to, be with someone else because I'd been with him for so long. And so we really just built a friendship. We really built a friendship. And a lot of things that I'm like, and I'll tell you this one story. It was Mother's Day one year. And I told him, I said, like you should really send your ex-wife a card wishing her happy Mother's Day, because she still is the mother, of your children. And he actually raises has 3 children. He raised them as a physician by himself. He had full custody of his kids. And honestly, that was probably one of the things that attracted me to him the most. So he bought the card, he put a gift card like in the card, and had his children to take her the card. She sent the card back with the gift card inside. But for me, it was like, okay, can you still honor her? Even if she doesn't honor you, even if she doesn't respect you, can you still make the choice to honor her despite what has happened like in your marriage? And so for me, that was one of the really like, okay, like he's willing to set his ego aside and try to heal and to move forward. And he's just a kind soul. He is a kind soul. He loves God. And that's really what I was looking for somebody to make me better, not put me in the same spot. Like I'm not trying to switch people with the same situation at all.
Exactly.
Like, okay, God, like, is this real? Is this the one? And actually, he's the only person that I dated, and we're married now.
Nice. That is awesome. So were you like scared to enter into something else?
And it's funny if hopefully he's watching. Babe, actually, I need you to take a picture if you are watching so that I can see that you're watching during this time. But yeah, I was, because he will tell you I am not very trusting of people at all. And when you come out of a marriage that didn't work, it is hard to trust. It's hard to trust. And the reason it's hard to trust because you hadn't fully put your trust in God, right? So if you haven't fully put your trust in God, then you definitely can't trust anybody else. So for me, it was very, very difficult. It was very hard. And then it's like the person makes one mistake. You're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out. Red flag. Red
Know
flag.
exactly what you mean.
You know what I'm saying? And honestly, that was me at the beginning. I'm like, oh no, 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 no. And so
Yeah.
you just have this kind of like reaction. You're like, oh no, no, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not going
Yeah.
through this again. And so it's like you're healed, but then you start like, your past starts like,
Paranoid, anxiety, you like nitpicking, like,
yeah,
no.
all of those things. You start,
Mhm.
and it's like you're looking for like you're
Mhm.
waiting for the person to make a mistake. And
Yeah.
I think that is one of the things that really hinders us as we try to get into a relationship, especially after divorce, is like, oh, I already know he about to mess up. So,
Mhm.
like, look, you got your phone out. Like, I'm just counting down the minutes because I know it's going to happen. And
Yeah.
so the thing is, I had to get to the place where, number one, he did have to earn my trust. Like, we don't
Yeah.
get together and you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, but I trust you. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Like, you have to earn my trust. You do. And,
Mhm.
and I have to do the same. And it's like, as we are navigating together, we have to like trust God, and we have to learn over time to trust each other. But it was very scary.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, I'm not getting married again. And then because I have my daughter,
Yeah.
and I think I told this story in one of my lives. Like, when you do have a child, like especially a daughter, like you
Mhm.
protect them in a different way. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's great that you're a doctor. I know you've been a doctor for 20 years. However, I need to know all about you. And at the time, I had a friend who was a private investigator. Girl, I drove up to his house one day, got behind his cars. I took a picture of his tag, and I friend who's a private investigator, and I was like, "Girl, run them." That's really what I text her. I was like, "Run them, girl." And I got her to like run like a full like background check, like everything.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, yes, me, but it's my daughter first. Go ahead if you need to see
Go sit down,
what's going
please. Go sit back in the room, okay? Thank you.
on. So sweet.
Okay, later in a minute, okay?
Oh. Sweet voice. Oh my gosh. So like sweet little 3-year-old voice. But yeah, and so it's one of those things where, over time we did have to like build trust together. And I think even for him, like he had been in several relationships, but I think because he had been so hurt so bad in his past, it was difficult for him to let go of like certain things. And, when you have raised your children, especially as a man, it's like, hey, like this is my castle, like you can come and whatever, but I got this,
Yeah.
And so you do have to open up, to each other and start to explore what that can look like. But God literally is the center of everything, because if it was me on my own, like the first mistake, I would have been out. Like
Yeah.
deuces, no, I'm looking for somebody who can never make a mistake. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep. I definitely know. I know the struggle.
Yeah,
um,
the struggle is real.
very. Okay, so last two questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, if you can go back to the um little girl version of you before any relationships, what advice would you give her? And then the last one is, what advice would you give the people who are still struggling in separation and divorce? What biggest piece of advice have you learned from your experience that you would give them?
Yeah, absolutely. So little Takila, little Takila, I would tell her first to fully, fully love herself, to
Mhm.
fully love every single thing about herself. I would tell her to put her trust in God. It's like your parents have you like in church for a reason. It's to
Mhm.
build your relationship. It's not about religion. It's
Mhm.
about relationship.
Yeah.
And I would tell that little girl that like God loves you so
Mhm.
much.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, the man that God has for you, he's going to love you the way that God loves you.
Yeah.
And so you never have to question, right? So if
Yeah.
I understand and I have a relationship with God and I understand like how God loves me, then I understand, God, this is the person that you have for me because he loves me the way that you love me.
Yeah.
And I would just tell her to trust and be free and to have
Yeah.
fun and just live in the moment and don't sweat the small stuff. Like we
Yeah.
all make mistakes, but life is just short. And I would just tell her to smile, enjoy the breeze, and be in the present moment. That's what I would tell her.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's so
And
sweet.
gosh, for women who have gone through this experience, for women who may go through this experience, in the future, I would first tell them, number one, you got to forgive, and not only forgive him, but you have to forgive yourself. Because a
Yes.
lot of times we sit and we say, hey, I should have seen that, I should have
Mhm.
known that. Like we're second guessing, choosing this person, we're second guessing all these things. But you got to forgive, you got to forgive yourself, and you have to love yourself. That's one of the things, for myself, is like I love myself so much. I love myself. And if people don't like my hair, they don't like my clothes, whatever, like that's okay. And this is what I tell my daughter. Like it doesn't matter, because God loves me and I love myself. And it's like, for those women, like you got to first forgive, you got to love yourself, and you got to give grace. Yeah, you need the time to heal. Take the time to heal. But at the same time, in healing, how are you going to heal? Because we get into a certain place and it's like, this is what I want to do, but you don't have a plan. You
Yeah.
don't have a plan. And for most things in life, like, your life is not a schedule, but at the same time, God, like, heal me. Okay, so, but what part are you going to do? How are you going to heal? Is that journaling every day? Is
Yeah.
that joining a women's group? Is that going to church and like connecting with people who've gone through your situation? What does that look like?
Mhm.
Write down your plan and say, I'm going to heal. And these are the little steps that I'm going to take every single day to heal. And realize at the end of the day, wherever he is, that's fine. That's okay. You still pray for him. I prayed for my ex-husband. I still pray for him every day. I prayed for him the day that I left, and I kept praying for him every single day, because as a Christian, that's what you're called to do. And you have to remember, you are a Christian first.
Yeah.
You're a Christian first. You're a wife, you're a daughter, you're a mother. All of those things are after your relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
And so I would say, have a plan on how you want to heal. And in terms of getting in a relationship, pray, connect with God, let God show you and allow him to kind of navigate that road with you.
Yeah.
Because the thing of it, we don't have to be with anyone. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, if God sees fit for you to build a ministry within a marriage, he will help provide. He will show you what it looks like. But God's like, you got to have a relationship with me. How are you going to be somebody's wife and you don't even have a relationship with me? You
Right.
know?
Right.
And, it's like, navigate the day. Like every single day, like I have in my phone, I have an alarm that goes off every single day. And it says, things are always working out for me. God is always working things out for my good. That is my alarm in the morning. That's
Mhm.
my alarm. And like, that is my mindset. And
Yeah.
so if it's day one of a separation, if it's day one of a divorce, wherever you are, like choose like what it is that you're navigating towards. Choose what it is that you are going to believe, or you're focusing on believing. And it
Yeah.
might be, today, girl, I'm going to forgive.
Mhm.
Today, I'm going to forgive. Whatever that thing is, put it
Yeah.
in your phone and commit to it. When it goes off every morning, you read it. My husband's phone says, happy wife, happy life. But that is the thing that you really have to focus on, is like, what vibe am I bringing? I
Yeah.
am somebody who believes, at the end of the day, it's like, you are your thoughts.
Yeah.
Whatever you think, that is what you're asking for. I truly, truly believe that. And I do believe that we can get to a place and we can be healed. If you have friends around you that want to talk bad about your ex-husband, they want to talk bad about your situation, they want to keep you stuck, you want to get together with a group of women, they're divorced, and you just want to sit and talk about every bad thing that your ex-husband did to you, that to me is like a toxic environment. And it's literally like, why would you, if your divorce is so bad, if the relationship is so bad, why you want to keep reliving it every
Yeah.
single day? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mhm.
Why relive it every single day? Give yourself the opportunity to breathe and be around people who are going to pour into you, who are
Yeah.
going to help you heal, who are going to tell you how amazing your hair looks, who are going to tell you how good you look. And girl, he just lost the best thing that ever happened to him. Those
Right.
are the people that you need to be around, who are going to pour life into you and
Mhm.
like bring you back from this place. that is really, really difficult, but God, he sees you and he's going to bring you back. He's just asking you to fully, fully trust in him and
Yeah.
build that relationship with him. And everything else from there is just going to grow. It's just going to grow. And just keep loving and keep living. Life is short. Don't waste moments on things that you can't change. Like,
Yeah.
once it's done, it's done. You can't change it. So how do I heal? How do I move on? How do I love myself better? How do I make people when I enter a room feel like, I don't know, what's that girl? I thought she just got a divorce like 2 weeks.
Right.
She's happy, her hair is done, her makeup is done. Like, you have to be who, like, even if you're not there, you got to dress the part, you got to move in the part. And the thing is, day by day, you're like, oh dang, I feel good about myself. Girl, you look good today. Like, oh my gosh, I love my outfit. And people will start seeing that in you. And it's just one day at a time, and just give yourself grace for that one day at a time, over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That was awesome advice. Well, this was so good.
Yes, I swear, I feel like I have known you forever.
Really?
I feel like I have known you forever.
Yes.
And it's so funny because I'm in sales, and it's one of these things where, especially when you don't know people, you haven't talked to people before, being able to just have like an authentic conversation with them, like you are girlfriends, And it's like, that's what it's about. And it's like,
It
if
really
people want
is.
to take anything from this, like, I mean, kudos to you. Like, what a blessing this platform is,
Thank you
that
so
you
much.
are offering this to women in order to heal. And if people want to understand what it should look like when they're navigating with their friends outside of their marriage, is this
Yeah.
conversation where we're like building each other up, and we're talking about what we've been through, but we're talking about how we've healed from it and how we've moved forward
Exactly.
and what God has done. Not the old stuff, but
Mhm.
just the testimony of what God has done. So thank
Exactly.
you so much for having me, for
You're
inviting me.
welcome.
It's such a blessing. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. And so tell everybody where they can go and find you on social media, or if you have any coaching programs or anything, let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. I'm mostly active on Instagram. It's Takila Shamir. You can find me there. And it says Bridal Wife Coach. Please, like, connect with me if you know any friends who are getting married. If you're getting married or you're at that spot, with your partner, please connect with me. I do a free 30-minute session just so we can connect, see where you are, see, what it is that, you're looking forward to as you navigate your marriage. And I'll be opening a program this summer that will last for about 8 weeks, where we really, really like get together as a group, and we really focus on, family, finances, femininity, and all of those things that are to come, within your marriage, and how you can be successful as you navigate, this happy time in your life.
Nice. That is awesome. All right. Well, that is it. That is the end of our interview. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.